Okay, this is very scary and frightening. Like Kamala Harris passed, that's starting to get revealed, maybe one of the spookiest things I've ever seen. Kamala Harris may not even be Kamala Harris. It may all be a psyop. Now, we know Kamala Harris' identity has been called into question, but it's just mainly her race. Is she black? Is she Indian slash Asian? Trump has called her out for it.
You believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe
I
that she
think
is
somebody should look into that too when you ask continue in a very hostile.
The Trump comments sort of sparked a discussion that's never ending surrounding Kamala Harris' race. But what truly sparked the mayhem that we experienced today surrounding Kamala Harris and her past and things being leaked and things being posted and exposed is what Janet Jackson said. So Janet Jackson did an editorial interview, against her best decisions, right? She shouldn't have done it because the editorial interview was a real scummy interview. So they asked her about Kamala Harris, expecting her to endorse Kamala Harris as the first black woman running for president, and Janet Jackson wouldn't do it. Janet Jackson is such a G, so they asked Janet Jackson, what's your opinion on the upcoming U.S. presidential election and the possibility that the country will elect its first black woman to the office? And Jenny is such a G, bro. Jenny like, oh, well, they said she's not black, right? Like she's Indian. So, I mean, that's what I heard. I don't know, right? But, I heard she's Indian. So I don't have a comment on the first black woman being elected because, she's Indian, according to Janet Jackson and what she's heard. Well, this caused some outrage because the magazine was a woke magazine and they thought this was a layup. Janet Jackson, a black woman. Kamala Harris, a black woman. Oh, we about to get an endorsement and plaster it everywhere. Janet wouldn't give it to him. So they plastered Janet Jackson all across social media with like a salacious headline. So then the fans began to call out Janet Jackson. And then we seen an apology from her staff. Well, or so we thought it was an apology from her staff. So this person, Mo El Masri, who has apparently served in some capacity with giving statements out for Janet Jackson in the past, he told BuzzFeed, listen, all right, Janet Jackson remarks were based on misinformation and she apologized for any confusion it caused. Janet Jackson is such a gangster that after that statement was put out there on her behalf, Janet Jackson was appalled. Apologize? For what? Janet Jackson said, hold up, bro. I did not apologize. As a matter of fact, he's fired. Like, bro, you're fired. And she told BuzzFeed, listen, that peon does not speak for me. My only managers is my brother Randy and my mama. I don't know that clown, and I'm not apologizing. So now the dude who apparently apologized on behalf of Janet Jackson spoke out and admits that it was unauthorized, but he did it because he wanted to clean up any type of bad press she was having, and he doesn't deserve to be fired. The now fired employee told Variety, I no longer work for her. I was fired by Janet and her real manager, Randy, her brother, after attempts to improve her image in front of public opinion and her fans. Who told you she cares about public opinion or the woke mob? She doesn't care. She's a billionaire. And this is something I do not deserve, right? He then offers all his support to Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, Janet Jackson didn't really respond, but, her reps did say that this dude was never authorized to give any statements and he's never been directly associated with her. This was probably somebody who was loosely associated with her, probably worked on some projects with her, who was just too eager to be involved and to give a statement, bruh. He deserves to get fired because if she is standing on it and doubling down, then who are you to tell the people that she's apologizing when she's not apologizing for nothing at all? Well, someone who was incredibly upset about the backlash that Janet Jackson was getting is Candace Owens. Now, Candace Owens believed that Janet Jackson is absolutely right, and she was appalled by how the public was treating Janet Jackson. So Candace Owens began to dig and dig and dig. In an attempt to support Janet Jackson, she began to dig in Kamala Harris' past, and she pulled out some pretty frightening receipts.
So this journalist is obviously not a journalist. This person is an activist. They were sent to do this interview for a reason, sent to write this profile piece to make it look like Jenna is crazy, and of course sent to get the quotation she expected, which was that it's going to be amazing to have a black woman as president because, again, they're signaling to black people, get into line, this is your new Obama, despite any evidence that she is black. And so I actually thought, has anybody really investigated Kamala Harris's genealogy? Like, we just keep being told she's black suddenly, and the media keeps overreacting when people say she's not black. And I can't find any evidence that Kamala Harris is black. So I said, I'm going to pause everything and do a deep dive on Kamala Harris's genealogy. And what I discovered is so shocking, okay? So first, let's start with just Kamala Harris's birth certificate. This is it. This is an authentic copy of it. It's already been discussed. You can see in the corner there that we have highlighted on her mother's name is an Indian name, Shailamala Gopalan, and under color or race of mother, her mother has put Caucasian.
That's a red flag, but not really, because Indians and Hispanics, especially like the lighter Hispanics, bruh, they love to put Caucasian on any document, bruh. Job applications, birth certificates, bruh. They identify as full Caucasian. You can't tell these folks they colored. They are Caucasian. But it gets deeper though, right? So the birth certificate was kind of like all right, cool. Now, where the rabbit hole starts at though is Kamala Harris tries to validate, I guess, her black history through her grandmama. Now, she posts a picture of her visiting her grandmama. Now, I'll be real, right? Just the first look at the picture, it looked like super sketchy. It looks like they were in like two different eras and two different time zones. The resolutions were off. It just looked edited. But she posted a picture of her and her grandmama in her book.
So I wanted to go further into Donald Jasper Harris, allegedly born in Jamaica in 1938. He has indicated that someone in his family is black. So who are his parents? Okay. So this is Kamala's dad, Donald Harris. We're looking now into Kamala's grandparents. The grandparents' names are Beryl Christie Finnegan Harris and Oscar Joseph Brown Harris. So let's start with Beryl. Let's start with her grandmother. This is an alleged photo of Beryl Christie Harris, okay? It is the only one that exists in the public domain, and I want you guys to know that it was presented by Kamala herself.
Here's where things get really weird and the rabbit hole runs deep. So that's a picture of Kamala Harris apparently in her 20s, right? She's a fully grown adult with her grandmama. She's even dressed urban. The picture itself from just an eye view looks fake. However, if it's not fake, that's not her grandmama. If that's a real picture, well, that lady in that picture is not Kamala Harris' grandmama Beryl. Because Kamala Harris' grandmama Beryl allegedly died before Kamala Harris was even born. And then we started asking ourselves, what's the end goal here? Is the end goal just to prove your black identity? Because you could prove your black identity in easier ways. Like, you don't have to lie about meeting a grandmama you never met, or even staging a picture with a woman and claiming that she's your grandmama, but you never met her.
That can't be Kamala's grandmother because, at least according to my research, Grandma Beryl died before Kamala was born. And now I want the internet to fact check this with me. This is wild, okay? Beryl was born in 1921 and she died in 1960, okay? I've checked grave sites everywhere. This is it's not exactly a very common name and not an exactly very common place specifically where she was born, St. Anne's Parish in Jamaica. That would mean that Beryl had Kamala's father when she was just 17 years old in 1938, and she died when she was just 39 years old. The black woman in that photo is not 39 years old. So this is a major discrepancy, okay? And this is just a tiny bit of digging. I went, wait a second. Has anybody realized that, like, Beryl allegedly died when she was 39 years old in 1960? That means that Kamala would have been born 4 years after her grandmother died in 1964. 1964 is when Kamala was born. Her grandmother died in 1960. So who is that woman that is in the photo with Kamala?
Also, something to take into consideration, Kamala's grandmama is supposed to be half white, One look at that woman, that's not a half white. She's not biracial. Like, that's a fully black woman. Like, that woman looked like she could be my grandmama. So just that picture alone isn't consistent with the identity of Beryl, which is Kamala Harris' grandmama. So who is Beryl? Who is she? Well, we don't know. And we will get some answers towards the end of this video, so keep watching. But let's transition to Kamala Harris' grandfather, who was apparently also mixed breed.
Now, what about Kamala's grandfather, the other side of this? Oscar Joseph Brown Harris is his name. That's allegedly who Beryl married, right? Okay. What I've learned about him, this is the photo that they have produced of him. That's supposed to be her grandfather. What I've learned about Oscar was that he was born in 1914. Brown was his mother's maiden name. His mother was a woman named Christiana Brown, who was known as Miss Chrissy. Christiana Brown's father was also a white Irish slave trader named Colonel Hamilton Brown. That is the white Irish slave trader named Colonel Brown. He married an indentured servant, an Irish woman named Kate Williams, presumably Catherine Williams. And let me tell you how wealthy her family was. Colonel Hamilton established the town that they lived in. It was called Hamilton Town. It's now called Brown Town. And he owned, at a minimum, 1,120 slaves, according to records.
Nobody in their right mind is gonna hold her family owning slaves against her. I think it's corny if they do. However, what that speaks towards, though, is Kamala Harris is trying to run from something. Like, she's running from her identity, right? And she's going out of her way to try to prove she's black, to sort of like separate herself from the identity of her family owning slaves, right? Because for most black Americans, the identity is, yo, my family, my people was taken advantage of, right? My great-great-great-great-great-grandmama was abused, and that's how she got pregnant and had a slave master kid. But in the case of Kamala and her people, like, that story of abuse can't really take place because, which is also something that's very odd as well that I've noticed, right? Is for some reason, like, the slave owners and Kamala's black side was openly married. They, like, this isn't some type of, like, illegitimate bastard child being born. No, they were, like, openly married, which is, like, that's not how, like, slave owners, that's not how that works, right? But nonetheless, though, you know, she's going out of her way to try to prove her black side, right? Now, it turns out, though, like, the picture that we've seen of the lady Kamala Harris is claiming is her grandmother Beryl, which is not, because Beryl died before Kamala Harris was born, appears to look awfully similar to her great-grandmama, Miss Iris. Not Miss Beryl, but Miss Iris. But here's the thing. Kamala Harris wouldn't have met her when she was that young. Like, that wouldn't be a picture of her and Kamala Harris together. That would be a picture of the younger version of her, right? Optimized with color, and Kamala Harris maybe photoshopped herself with the great-grandmama. This would be Kamala Harris' great-grandmama. So that would mean, like, the picture you see is probably a younger version of her and a CGI AI Kamala Harris into it. But here's the thing, though. The mystery runs a little deeper than this. Just so we can wrap up Kamala Harris' black identity, if we take Kamala Harris' story to be 100% true and say her mama is fully Indian, her parents is fully Indian, her father is biracial, her father's mother is biracial, then that would mean that Kamala Harris is probably about 12 to 15% black. And she's majority Caucasian because her mother identified as Caucasian. So she is majority Caucasian, if that's the case. But the story gets a little scarier than just her not being black. You see, Kamala Harris' grandmama is Beryl, so she claims. Her father is Donald Harris. So she claims, right? So she claims. This is where we start questioning, is Kamala Harris a real person? Is Kamala Harris a real person? Because it's not making sense. You see, Kamala Harris' father, Donald Harris, the child of Beryl, well, apparently he's not Donald Harris. He's claiming a fake identity, allegedly, because Beryl's son, Donald Harris, he apparently died at the age of 1 year old.
And let me just show you the attachment. Chills. I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out all over again. It's hitting me. It's a second wave here of what? So yes, you will see that listed here. This is a death certificate that is on the 29th of November, 1940, okay, in St. Anne Parish. That obviously is where her family is from. And yes, the child's name was Donald Harris. The child died before the child turned 2. So this would mean that it is plausible that this child was born in 1938, the exact same year that Donald J. Harris, Kamala's father, was born. Okay. Can you pull it back up? I'm not done reading through this. Okay. So you have also, it says the certified cause of death is fever and a cold. And it's letting you know, it says the duration of the illness, so that this baby was sick for 1 month, rest in peace. And it does mention that that baby is the son of Albert Harris. And just as this person speculates, it is signed by Beryl Harris. And it tells you, because you're supposed to include this, the signature of the person who was present at the death. And it says Beryl Harris, present at the death.
It was really odd, Kamala Harris' father, who is claiming to be Donald Harris, well, you can't find his birth certificate anywhere. It doesn't exist. It's not out there. There's been record requests. They can't locate it. They don't know who that guy is. Could he be playing the role of Donald Harris, the 1 year old who passed away? Could this man who is somewhat racially ambiguous, who look somewhat like a black man, a very light-skinned black man, could Kamala Harris just have picked that man up the street to play the role as her father? The same way she took this random picture of a black woman who looked like her great-grandmama and claimed that she's the grandmama? And who's Kamala Harris? If her quote-unquote father died at 1 year old, and there's a man who is playing the role of her father, then who's Kamala Harris? Who is she? Is she really Kamala Harris? At this point, bro, we don't know the identity of Kamala Harris, man. Y'all let me know in the comment section. What do you guys think about this? All right. Is this odd? Is this crazy? Let me know, all right? And if you're still watching, man, click on this video somewhere on my screen to find out about the Young Dolph mystery and why this trial is hinting towards another rapper, Yo Gotti, and his crew getting a RICO case pretty soon. Click on this video right here to find out what I'm talking about. I'm going to see you guys in this video. I'm out of here, folks. Peace.